Dear IB psychologists, today we are going to have a guide on how to master paper 1. This paper will test you on your ability on 3 core approaches: the biological, cognitive, and sociocultural. It is 2 hours long and worth 40% for your SL grade or 35% for your HL grade. This paper consists of 2 distinct sections. Section A, which tests you on 3 short answer questions, which are each worth 9 marks, and they are guaranteed to be 1 question from each topic. And the essay response question is in section B, which is worth 22 marks. Let us start with the most important study strategy for psychology paper 1. It is to create an SAQ grid. This means in order to master your short answer questions, you're going to have to create a grid for each approach, write down every single possible question that the IB has asked in previous years for each topic, which is about 15 different ones. And then on the right side of the document of your table, you're going to have a short answer and just write the name of the study and some details that you remember. This will allow you to create some structure for your learning and will allow you to tick off the studies that you already know. It also creates a lot of organization help. So for each of the 3 sections, you should prepare your studies for each major topic. So a topic could be something like localization of brain function, schema theory, or social identity theory, for example. So for each of those topics, you need to prepare at least 1 study in detail. Now, the biggest mistake that students are making is to try and remember too many studies. But at the end of the day, on exam day, you'll actually only need about 5 studies. So one for each of the short answer questions, and then at least 2 for the essay question. 2 is actually, I would say, the sweet spot, because it allows you to go in depth of the studies that you have and evaluate, which is very important for the essay response question. It's also way more important that you know the few studies you know in detail, rather than a lot of studies, but only not in depth. So step 2 is to learn to connect the study to the topic, because that's what essay and response, both of those different types of questions, are asking you essentially to do. It's not, oh, okay, psychology, I just need to recall the study that I've learned word for word, state the aim, conclusion, participants, method, results. All of these things are important, but you need to explain the so what part of the question. And that's where command terms come in, because discuss, to what extent, and evaluate are all different guiding questions, that guiding statements that are essentially going to lead to how you're going to respond to these questions. So you need to really pay attention to these command terms, especially for the essay response question, because for example, to what extent means to consider the merits or otherwise of an argument and to reach a conclusion. So the command term essentially shapes your entire essay. When preparing for the essay response questions, our top tip is to master 1 approach deeply, rather than spreading yourself across all 3. So in section B, you only answer 1 question, okay? 1 question. And you get to choose which approach. So technically, if you're strongest in the biological approach, prepare that one thoroughly, and the rest are backup options. For HO students, there is a catch. So there is an additional extension of the topics that might appear. However, you don't have to worry, because these are specialized topics such as animal studies or technology. And they're usually, at least for me, they were very interesting. So essentially, you need to have prepared at least 1 of these extension topics with relevant studies. And one last exam day tip is that experienced psychology students are swearing by the 5-minute brain dump, which means that when you first sit down, before you start reading the question, you use scrap paper to quickly jot down the key studies that you have memorized. So that will just test your short-term memory actually really quickly, and you'll activate all the neurons to try and memorize the studies that you have previously learned in your SAQ grid. Thank you for your attention.